Well, hello and welcome back to Mountain Patriot Homestead. Today is another one of those best laid plan days where I had intended on doing a walkabout and showing y'all how the comfrey is coming along and some use of the chickweed and just, all of these stars in my eyes plans that I had laid out. But when I stepped outside this morning, I was expecting, the temperatures are supposed to be right now in the 50s, but I guess I didn't calculate the wind into that factor. And when I stepped outside with this wind blowing like it is, it felt a whole lot chillier than the, I think, 53, 55 degrees that the thermometer's saying. So, that and the fact that the wind is just howling, I'm sure you can still hear it pretty well in here in the greenhouse. It is much better than it would be outside. Of course, I could still walk around outside and show you things, but I would have to do voiceover, which I'm not very good at doing because my whole timing of what I say to what I'm showing you is usually not very good, so I always feel like I'm rushing to get my words out in the amount of video I have, or I'm left with all this dead air at the end of my video because I've ran out of whatever to tell you. So rather than doing that, I just came into the greenhouse just so I could talk with you for a few minutes. And maybe later this afternoon, when we get done with some other things that we've got on our plate, I'll make another video and perhaps it'll be showing you, wow, that wind, showing you something outside, or maybe it'll be something in the kitchen. I don't know. If you have a preference of something you'd like me to talk about or show, or anytime you have any inspiration for me on these videos, please let me know down in the comments, because that way I know what you would like to see or hear or do. I am in the greenhouse. As you can see here, there is not a lot going on. I'll tell you what happened. Nothing. All of those 300 chestnuts that I had in cold storage over the winter, like I did the previous winter for the others that I'd had, that were successful, by the way, greatly. These were not a single one sprouted, done nothing. I mean, it's just empty nothings. They done absolutely diddly, and so I just roll with it. There's a lot of times you can plant things, and if they don't germinate, move on. Always have a backup plan. So what I'll do is, this dirt that is here in the greenhouse will not go to waste because I have other things in mind for it. I'll just come right, I'm sorry, I'm digging around in my pockets because I know I put things in my pockets. I'm going to come in here and I plan on planting, I've got 1,200 cowhorn pepper seeds here that I'll start planting. I'm not going to plant 1,200 cowhorn pepper plants. I don't know. I'll go into the pepper business if I did that, but I will plant a lot of those because I do want to be able to make, I love making pepper flakes, dried pepper flakes, because I do use that a lot in cooking. When we make sausage, I use that in our sausage mix. I use it on, when we do grilling, I use it in sauces and just all kinds of recipes. I use the dried pepper flakes. I even sprinkle it on pizza or whatever. So we go through a lot of peppers, hot peppers. So I just like to grow them myself. But I will come in here, and some of these pots I will use for planting the peppers. Now you may be wondering, depending on what part of the world you're in, you may be thinking, aren't you getting started a little late? Because I know some folks further south of us already may have producing plants. We do not here, because just last week we had temperatures back down in the 20s again. The last few days have been in the 30s, mid to low 30s. I think my pear trees are pretty well done. It wiped out, this cold weather has wiped out my pears for this year. My apple trees, though, bless their little hearts, they held on. At least two of my I only have 3 apple trees, but they produce far more than we can even use because we share with everybody. But one of the apple trees bloomed earlier than the other 2. It still has some viable blossoms on it, but not a lot. But the other 2 trees, they have held out, and bless their hearts, they're just covered in blooms. So yesterday there was bees and butterflies and all that all over them pollinating. Thank you, my little pollinators. And they were out there, and I'm really hoping that that was the last. Of course, we never know what our weather here is going to do. We're calling for near 80-degree temperatures this coming week. So who knows? We could have 80 degrees and then all of a sudden it's 20 again. It's all over the place. But I am hoping that that was the last and we'll still get some fruit harvest. But that is also why I wait and don't get my stuff started too early, because I will have plants here in the greenhouse that are getting far too large. I've had plants some years that by the time the weather outside was ready to transplant, my plants in here may already have little tomatoes on them. It just, I've already got blooming squash in here, so every year is an experiment for me for gardening. I'm 58 years old, and every year it's an experiment on what's happening when I garden. And I've been doing this most of my life, but it really is. It's an experiment. Every year the weather's different, the climate changes. And it's not like it's a new thing. The climate's been changing since the creation of it. So we just have to roll with it. And so when things don't germinate, I just plant something else. A lot of these plants, I think I've told you in previous videos, this year I'm not going to plant a humongous garden like I did previous years. I'm trying to let the garden rest a little bit. I'm going to plant pumpkin. I'm going to plant peppers. I'll always plant a couple of tomatoes just because we like fresh tomatoes. We will not eat a store-bought tomato. And onions. I've got a bunch of onion plants that I've got to get planted in the next few days. So a lot of these pots are going to contain the pumpkins. I'm going to wait a little bit on the pumpkins because they grow so fast. And I could direct seed them in the garden, but I prefer to give them a little bit of a head start in here, and then I can put them out into the garden. Never have a problem with that. I will show you something, though, that is just amazing to me, and hopefully you will try this when you go. Now, don't go to your national parks and things like that and start taking things, collecting seeds and stuff, because in some places that's illegal, and in other places it's just greatly frowned upon, and it's really not good for the ecological makeup of the world, I guess, to really take things, and because it could be invasive species that you're removing from one place and putting somewhere else. Kudzu, whoever came up with the idea that kudzu was a good thing for erosion control, great for erosion control, but it will take over the countryside. But for all those people that hate kudzu, look it up and look under edible plants, kudzu. Did you know you could eat kudzu? There you go. If you can't beat it, eat it. All right, but back to what I was going to say. This is actually from an acorn that I harvested last year. I know it says chamomile on it. This is not chamomile. This was a little acorn. I say little, it was a good size acorn that I harvested when we were on vacation last year, just down the road. We don't go far on vacation most of the time because we have so many animals that pretty much we have to vacation close enough that we can come back and feed. That shows you we're really not vacationing. We may as well vacation at the house. But this was at a little privately owned park, and it was during the time of year the oak trees, native oaks. This place is within 10 miles of us, and so these are native oaks, and this oak was just dropping these beautiful acorns. And since she was giving up her acorns so freely, I picked up 4 acorns and I put them in the refrigerator in a little bit of moist sand and put them down in the bottom of the refrigerator and left them there all winter. You just leave them, just put them in there, forget about them. In a few weeks ago, I dug them out, and they had little tap roots on them, so I transplanted them, and I've got to get them out of these cups. I've got to get them in some bigger pots because I guarantee you their roots is already trying to figure out where to go because, however tall this is, the roots are going to be twice that long. So this little acorn developed into this beautiful little oak. See how pretty this oak is? I mean, just so beautiful. And I thought I was only going to end up having 2 of them because only 2 had sprouted, and that was like, well, I'm only gonna end up with 2, but 2 out of 4, 50% is not bad. But I went on ahead and planted all the acorns anyway. And lo and behold, they kept surprising me. And even though they're growing at different rates, you can see they're so beautiful and they're so delicate when they first start growing. But it is just amazing to me that out of those 4, I have 4 little baby oak trees. Can you see that one? Just a little bitty sprout there, but it was the last one to sprout up, but it's giving it its all, and it is growing, and it won't be long before it'll be as big as this biggest one here. And once I get them into bigger pots and eventually outside, they'll be great. I'll get them transplanted wherever we want oak trees, and those are free. And they're native oaks from this area. I'm not bringing in invasive species. I'm not having to pay, tons of dollars for, oak trees. Now I could go back in the woods. I could gather, acorns out here in my yard because we already have oak trees. But these are memory trees. These are trees that I picked up on a special trip when, even though it was only a few miles from the house, it was a little bit of time for us to get away. And now we'll have a memory of that getaway that will remind us every time that we step out, we hear, the birds singing from the branches and the leaves that are shading us. So it's just a neat way to grow memories, literally. So think about that whenever you're out and about, even if you're in your grandmother's yard and your grandmother has a special plant, a special flower, even if you can get a clipping off of her elderberry bush, if there is something that means something to you, always ask, make sure it's okay for you to take things, but you can use plants for memory purposes. The little roots of something, tubers that you grow, say it's your grandmother's favorite iris, and you're able to just take that little rhizome and go take it home and plant it and create your own iris bed. That's something that you can't go to the store and make those memories from things you buy. But you can make those memories from things that are shared, that are collected, that mean something to you. And if you have children, especially young children, get them involved in growing and collecting seeds of things, wild plants. If it's, like I said, an acorn, it's a good experiment. It's a good science experiment project for a child to try to grow their own oak tree. I mean, how cool is that? And then one day their grandchildren could be swinging from that oak limb. So anyway, even though the video isn't as it was planned to go today, I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you get a little something out of it. And I hope that you come back again to Mountain Patriot Homestead. Our videos never go as planned. If you're looking for something that's a well-oiled machine and everything always goes as planned, this is not the channel for you. If you like things that are just spontaneous and happen as it happens, just like real life, then we hope that you come back here. Love y'all. Hope you come back to visit again real soon. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.